final question. Do you feel it is important to have knowledge of the Osage culture to serve as a member of the Osage government? Please be specific. And Cecelia Tallchief?
Cecelia Tallchief. I think it is that you should have the knowledge of the Osage culture, but you should also have the culture of good work ethics besides the culture, and hopefully they will all fall together and learn how to use Osage culture and work ethics together to bring and build a stronger government.
Could you repeat the question? Find a little time here.
Think time. Do you feel it is important to have knowledge of the Osage culture to serve as a member of the Osage government? Please be specific. Please be specific.
Yes, I think it is important to have knowledge. It is incorporated into our government to some extent. It is also incorporated into our Constitution. Specifically says that our Constitution, or in our Constitution, that we should preserve our traditions and our culture. So yes, I do believe that knowledge of our culture is important. It also helps, I think, to communicate with many of our elders. I think that participating, or at least going to hand games or the dances, I think it's important. Gives you an opportunity to communicate with many of our constituents that really care. Many of those that participate in those functions are the ones that really care. I mean, look in this audience here, and a large percent of them you'll see in June. I don't think it's the most important aspect or the most important thing that's going to make a good congressman. I think experience in business, self-governance, in running a program. I think there's other things that are more important than knowledge of our culture, but yes, I do believe that it is important. Thank you.
Could you repeat the question, please? Do you feel it is important to have knowledge of the Osage culture to serve as a member of the Osage government?
Very much so. I think they go hand in hand. And a few years ago, I teach the high school at Phoenix High School out there in Phoenix, Arizona. And every time one of the Indians would get in trouble, or you have a non-Indian teacher, they always come to me, they thought we had something going. I could talk their language, which I couldn't. But they always wanted me to come and see what I can do to help them out to stay in school. And Mr. Walker stated that very much so, to keep in mind that it's very important during especially the Alaska dances. And also is that we just need to think outside the box. You don't need to think Indian ways sometimes. We tried it, sometimes it didn't work. So yes, well, very important, yes.
I'm Teresa Hudgins. I believe that our culture has a place. This is what it is. This is our culture, and this is our tribe, and this is our tribal leadership. I think that everybody needs to have a basic understanding of what our culture entails, because there are a lot of times when, for example, funerals. Funerals are something that are there's a lot of participants in a funeral ceremony for an Osage Indian. And it can be time consuming, and so I think that everybody needs to know those traditions to be able to function around them, and to take those into consideration when they happen.
Yes. Do you feel it is important to have the knowledge of the Osage culture to serve as a member of the Osage government? Please be specific.
It's always important to have your cultural base in your government, just like we did in the United States when we signed the Declaration of Independence. We each individuals went up there, signed the Declaration, and went on. There's God in there, there's their culture in there, there's what they wanted in there, and that's what we become. That's what we are today. As Osages today, yes, it goes hand in hand, just as in the Declaration. But do I think it's the end all? No, it's not. There's a lot of other things that, developing opportunity for us as people. We have to go forward. We cannot remain as we are now, because we're just going to stay the same. We need to strive for the future. We need to make solid bases and continue on. As long as we keep our culture close to our heart and understand what it is and don't let it die generation after generation of someone saying, well, you don't really need to know that because it's not going to be important. We have to understand that our children, they weren't born knowing what we know. We have to pass it on to them. And that's what we have to do. It's just an absolute fact. And when we don't continue to do this, that's when our culture dies. That's when we die.
We have one minute each for rebuttal, and we'll start with Cecelia Tallchief.
Cecelia Tallchief. I think culture is very important, and most of us hold it very dear. However, when you're working in the government, you have to be mindful of the culture and respectful of what it entails, but you need to have good work ethics. That's the number one thing. If you're going to be on Congress, you need to know the good work ethics. The culture comes about if you have an elder come in to come before us or talk, to be respectful of that person. But you have to know the culture to respect who you're dealing with a cultural background, but along with this, good work ethics.
Well, since the time of my first response, I've had a time to sit and think about some of the committee work I've done for the nation, including the Master Campus Plan Steering Committee and the Merit-Based Pay Steering Committee, as well as serving for the Head Start Policy Council as chairman. And looking back on those committee meetings that I served on, or was serving on, there was a considerable amount of discussion about how we incorporate our culture into our government. And I always felt a sense of security when we had somebody with that vast knowledge on those various committees, and we were fortunate to have that. And so I think to dovetail on what I said earlier, yeah, I think it is important definitely to have those with the capacity to express some of those things that people like myself and others don't have all of that knowledge. So yes, I think it is very important. Thank you.
Carl Sellers? Sure. Do you feel it is important to have knowledge of the Osage culture to serve as a member of the Osage government? Please be specific.
Yes. For the past 31 years, I'm employed at Dick Connor Correctional Center. And you'd be surprised how many Indian offenders come our way. And I think at the facility, I think we have 85 Indians. And we started the sweat lodge here. And it just prolonged it. And you had to know a little bit about the sweat lodge, which 90% of the Indian offenders did not know anything about the sweat lodge, and they just that's where culture comes in, and you try to teach them what you know a little bit.
Well, I do believe that culture is important for somebody who serves on Congress. I feel like what's more important is leadership skills, management skills, supervisory skills. I believe that you need to have the educational background to be able to write legislation, and I just think that education, leadership, and management are essential skills.
And to finish this round of questioning, Shane Rencountre.
How do we balance culture and our responsibilities as people? We have to look forward to a new beginning. We're setting the pathways. Our fathers, our grandfathers, they sat here and they come to this land. They set up the foundation for it. It says it's time for us to build it. We have to go forward. We have to strive. We have to do everything within our will and go that extra mile to continue to do it. Not only to protect our culture, but to protect our people. If we do not protect our people, we're in trouble. We need to continue on and make a solid decision and have a pathway. We truly do. Thank you.
That ends this round of questions for these panelists.